Internet friends. This is Danielle Fierce, creator of Real Estate Profit Lab, founder of Property Preservation Mastery. Thank y'all so much for tuning into my live stream tonight. I'm going to just make sure my sound and audio is working as it is supposed to before I get to running and yakking my mouth. But please do come in, say hey, let me know where you're watching from. If you're brand new to the channel, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. All right, so let's get into what we're doing today, shall we? For 21 days, I'll be going live and giving deep dive answers to one question a day related to property preservation. This is part of our hashtag Day in the Life campaign. So tonight, obviously, it's about 9:30. I'm on Central Standard Time. Thursday, I'll also be going live between 9 and 9:30, but every other day, you can look for me at about 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. All right. We'll get into pros and cons of the industry, pitfalls, dealing with contractors, launching your business, working with family, and something we call the success gap. So basically the reason behind why some students get started, enroll in the course, launch their business, and kind of fumble and don't really, take off the way that they intended. And then others, go through the exact same process and come out the gate within, 6 to 9 months, having $5,000 to $10,000 months. So we'll get into that over the course of the next 21 days. This campaign is going to take us right into Black Friday, where we'll be sharing even more stories about the current state of the industry and highlighting our most successful students of the year of 2021. So with that in mind, let's get into something that I like to call highs and lows. So highs and lows is something that my partner and I do before some of our meetings. And it's essentially a way to share some feedback or give some insight into more of our personal lives and just share either some quick wins or something that may not necessarily be a win. It doesn't have to be anything drastic or like life-changing, although it could be. So I'll go ahead and go first. And I'd appreciate if you guys could, list your highs and lows as well, wherever you may be watching this particular video. Sound good? All right, boom. So a low for me is that actually 21 days of video is a low. A lot of people don't realize it or believe me when I say that, video is not necessarily my preferred method of communication. I'd prefer to just, write articles on LinkedIn and write and, add stuff to the blog and just kind of live my life very quietly and go about my business. But nevertheless, people don't like to read very much. So here we are. That's a low. In terms of a high, y'all, my birthday is coming up. It's November the 13th. I'll be 42. I'm going to Palm Springs with some of my best friends, and I'll be hanging out there for a few days. So I'm super ecstatic about that. All right. So real quick, mark your calendars because on Wednesday, November the 24th, that is the day before Thanksgiving, you're going to have exactly 5 hours to take advantage of over $4,000 in discounts and bonuses to register for our flagship Property Preservation Mastery course. So the course is going to be available at right around $14.97. It's typically $24.97. So that's $1,000 off the course alone. And we're adding in an extra another $3,000 in bonuses. So it's going to be super bomb. But again, that's only going to happen on Wednesday, November the 24th. So please don't email now because it's not ready. Today, we're talking about some of the horrible things that you'll discover while working in some of the properties. Again, this is part of our Day in the Life campaign where I have committed to 21 days of video. So 21 days of video is going to be. So with, the title of this video, we're talking about corpses, dead animals, and squatters and vagrants. So you will run into dead dogs, possums, skunks, squirrels, insects, roaches. You'll see that those things are very, very common. You'll also run into lots of vagrants, people squatting inside the property, people pretending like they have a lease, and they'll come show you something that they concocted, on their computer and say, hey, this is proof that, I'm supposed to be here. And then every now and again, you might run into a dead body. Now, disclaimer, I have never had that experience before. It's been 2013 to 2021. So 8 years, I've never had that experience, either myself or any of the contractors. However, some of the students have had that experience. And I really can't imagine what that would be like. The dead animals are bad enough. The smell is horrendous. The sight of it is horrendous. And you can just kind of see that some of these animals were clearly just left in the property indefinitely and left to fend for themselves. But a dead body, I think, would be a pretty traumatic experience. But here's what I want you to know, and this is the point of the video today. Remember that you are not the police or the FBI. So what happens on the back end is that lots of these preservation companies, they outsource much of the business overseas. And so you'll get coordinators, vendor coordinators, and property preservation specialists, and they'll say things like, and this is not a joke, they'll say things like, kindly return to the property and remove the occupants. So when you report that, hey, there's somebody in this property, it's supposed to be vacant, that's the response that you'll receive. And so what I want to say in regard to that is, obviously that's a very, ridiculous and non-productive response, but it happens again because a lot of these people are overseas, they're not in the US, they're not familiar with how things work here. They don't know that you don't have the capability, you're not a bounty hunter where you're going into a property and forcefully removing people. Like, that's just not your job. And so what you will have to do is to communicate very clearly that, this is not how things work. This is a process you need to follow. Take good photos, provide good documentation. If the people that are inside the property are willing to give you their name and number, take that. It's probably going to be fake anyway, right? But take it anyway. And your job is to collect and compile all the information, provide it back to the property preservation company or the servicing company or the bank, wherever you're working for, and just say, hey, this is what I've, collected from this property. Holler at me when you get this under control so that we can go back and do the clean out or conduct the eviction, et cetera. It's not your job to go in and forcefully evict people. It's not how evictions work. It's not your job to go in there and deal with squatters and vagrants. It's really not your job to go in there and deal with overly, supremely hazardous material, whether that be in the form of, moldy items inside the property, decomposing, animals, or whatever the case may be. So those things require, you can negotiate much higher price points. It's called hazardous pay. So it's really only your job to take photos, get documentation, collect information, provide it back to the company and say, hey, here's what I've collected. And then the next step is for you to either go through with, going through the court process for an eviction, or, we can contact the police and deal with that. But most times the police will tell you that this is a civil matter. Like, they're not just going to go and evict people because you say you work for the bank and you're trying to get paid to do a clean out. Like, the police really don't too much care about that, especially if you're working inside of a big city. So that's my tip for today. Last thing, all the videos in this campaign are going to remain up indefinitely. So if you've missed anything live, go back and catch the replay. Mark your calendars again for November the 24th to take advantage of the lowest pricing of the season. And I'm going to see y'all tomorrow at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. So it won't be late like it is tonight. All right. As always, sending you love, light, peace, blessings, grace, and clarity. I'm going to get out of here and go to sleep. All right. Good night. Bye-bye.